any of you want to go further? All right, well, it's 7 o'clock, so I guess we'll start. I've never done this before, neither has George. It got started because George and I were talking, and with everything that's going on, we thought it'd be a good idea to have all 5 potential council members do a presentation of some sort, and so the general public can hear from everybody, okay? What we're going to do is, I've asked Marlis, I put all 5 candidates' names on a piece of paper. They're all identical. So to begin with, every candidate will have up to 2 minutes to tell about themselves, and that'll be by random choice. And then after that, the question will be, why do you feel that you're the best candidate for one of the 2 positions available? And that also will be a random drawing. After that, if you have a question that can be addressed to anybody, we can do a drawing and have all 5 answer the question. And if you want to direct it to somebody specifically, you can do that too. Once you hear what they have to say about themselves, you might have, one of the candidates might have more information on one subject versus another, so. So Marlis, you get to draw the first one. The names. Okay. Rick.
Okay. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It's nice to see such a good turnout. I've been to some of the meetings where they've had town hall meetings for Representative Jeff Howe and Michelle Fischbach, and been pretty slim, pretty slim pickings for the turnout. So it's nice to see that you took the time to come out. I want to thank George and Carol for getting this together, and I'll just give you a little bit of history about myself. My name is Rick Tallman. I'm married, and my wife Dorothy and I just celebrated our 38th wedding anniversary in September. We have 2 children, a son and a daughter, and 7 grandchildren, 1 boy and 6 girls. And they're over here in Wade Park, so that's why we're over here. I worked in factories back in my hometown of Kenosha, Wisconsin, and I had various jobs, anywhere from janitoring up to machining and metal finishing before I went into my own business. And I've been in rental business for 24 years. So I've been doing that for quite a while. We moved here 5 years ago, moved to Rockville, bought our house on Pleasant Lake, and then afterwards I bought a couple apartments in downtown Rockville here. I've served on 4 different committees here in Rockville: Park and Rec, Quarry Trail Construction Board, Planning and Zoning, and the Trash Haulers Committee. And we've enjoyed our time here in Minnesota.
30 seconds.
And we've met a lot of very nice people, and my wife and I have commented that we know more people here in Rockville, and we've lived here the shortest amount of time, so that says something about the Minnesota people. Very friendly. And again, thank you all for coming out.
Dwayne.
Is it
Your turn.
Okay.
It's your turn.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marlis. First and foremost, if I could, I'd like to introduce my wife, Diane, who happens to be with us tonight over here. So Diane, just please raise, there we go, thank you very much. My bride of 43 and a half plus years. I spent my time as a youth growing up on a dairy farm northwest of Richmond, became a carpenter thereafter, had a stint in the Army. After I got back from the Army, got into the construction business again. Got to know Rockville in about 1968 when I started dating Diane. We got married in 1971. Have been living here since that time. We built a new home when we got here, built another home on top of the hill. We have 4 adult children that we reared here in the Rockville area. We have 3 grandchildren. We started our construction development land construction business in 1977. We have built nearly 100 homes right here in the Rockville vicinity, and we probably have another 100 plus in the total area that we had from 77 through now. We built a lot of multifamily, but we truly have a lot of time and effort and all that committed, and you'll see a brochure that I've generated. It's on the table over there. Please take one along to help you after tonight. There's going to be a lot of different ideas and thought processes. As far as it goes, serving on a township in planning and zoning back in the 80s, got very much involved in Boy Scout leading, been a charter member of the Rockville Lions, been engaged in this community for many, many years. Became a groundswell of people have asked me to run way back in 2006. I failed to get enough votes the first time around, but I've been since that time. So in closing, those are my comments. That's a little bit about me thus far. Oh, and I am Dwayne Willenbrink, I didn't mention.
How would it be if I just held up a candy bar instead of saying 30, so I don't distract you?
I'm really not going in order, but Bill is the next name.
Premonition.
Well, thank you all for coming out tonight. My name is Bill Becker. I grew up locally. I know Mr. Klein is here on Grand Lake, and I was a little kid, and of course he was there all the time. I went to school locally. I'm just going to say I'm a little Catholic boy. I grew up at St. Paul's Cathedral, St. John's University. I'm actually a music major by trade. You'd never know that because I've been in law enforcement for a long time. If you remember Charlie Graff hired me at Stearns County. I was a patrol officer for 21 years. I've been at Central Care now for 44 years. So a long time in the community. In 2000, I bought my mom and my aunt's lot over in Pleasant Lake. I built there in 2000, and I've been there ever since. And I built there to retire, in which I will do, not shortly, but down the road. I've been a past member, I think 6-7 years on City Council. I'm currently on the Planning Commission. I have no children. I'm on my 3rd Golden Retriever, just so you know. Yeah, and they're just as bad, I think. Love to hunt and fish outdoor. I'm just an outdoor person, love the community. I'm a very community-oriented person. I think we can do a lot for this community, and we have a lot of great things around here. So that's my story, and that's a very short story. Thank you.
Paul?
I guess it just works out that way.
It's rigged.
It's rigged.
I'm Paul Worth, and I'm a candidate for council, obviously. I was born in North St. Cloud and moved out to Pleasant Lake. Been here 34 years now. Wife and I have been married 37 years last week. We have 2 daughters and 6 grandchildren. My formal education was in St. Cloud. I went to Cathedral High School, graduated from there, went on from there to Natural Resources in St. Cloud Votech College. I went to St. Cloud State University and studied pre-forestry, ended up graduating from the University of Minnesota in Natural Resources and Forestry. From there I entered a career with Stearns County. I never thought I would get that job, but because I had applications out around the country. I started out 6 months working for the Conservation Corps in California, of all places. Received a letter out there that the job back here opened up. Came back, took it, liked it, I've stayed ever since. 33 and a half years I put in there as a parks manager, and retired from it. I had a very diverse job. I manage people, up to 15 people each year, including seasonals and temporaries and full-time people. Ran a number of good programs, and I'm sharing a lot of those things now in the city of Rockville through the park board and a couple of other committees I'm on. I've been raising grant money. I've raised $170,000 for Rockville, city of Rockville, through grant writing, putting in rain gardens and wild prairies. A lot of wonderful environmental projects. So that my strength is environmentally, and that's where I think I can help the city. I also teach outdoor classrooms for youth and adults. I've done a number of them. They just love them, and I love teaching them. So I hope to continue to be working with the city. I think there's a lot I can do. I've proven that in the last 5 years here so far. Thank you.
Well, I'm next. Most of you know me. I'm Tony Honer. I've lived here with my family. My husband and I have been married about 18 years. We have 2 daughters that are 12 and 15, sorry. And we moved to Rockville about 11 years ago. When our daughters were very young, we were looking for a place to settle down and call home. Within 6 months of moving to Rockville, I put in an application in and was accepted onto the Planning Commission, and I've been on that commission ever since. So in November, it'll be 11 years. For the past 5 years, I have been given the honor of being chair of that commission. I feel it was an honor because Jerry Bechtold, my successor, had it for so long. My daughters and my family and I have become very involved in the community. My daughters have served multiple times as Rocori and Rockville ambassadors, Rocori royalty. I have served on the Rockfest committee. I've been involved in Park and Rec. I've been involved in several subcommittees. Pretty much, I feel like I've dedicated my life, and my family has just become such a vital part of the city that I would love to take the next step in representing you on the council.
Thank you. Marlis, if you could shuffle those a little better, that would be
We'll see if I can start with somebody. Well, I picked Rick again for the first. Sorry. I was trying to mix them up.
Okay, so the question for everybody is, why do you believe you're the best one for one of the 2 positions available? And just 1 minute for each one. Is that sufficient? Or you want 2 minutes? Up to 2 minutes.
Okay. I believe in government transparency, and I have to tell you that's not really been the case here in Rockville. Something that's lacking. And I also plan to do something that, to my knowledge, no other council member has done, and that is to keep people updated with the use of our modern technology. We're in the information age, and the use of emails and blogs and online videos, and people should be able to be kept up with things that are happening at a little more rapid pace than a quarterly newsletter, and be able to respond to that and to be giving input to the direction that the city should be going. I believe as a council member, we're elected to represent the people, and in order to do that, to get responses back from the updates, you can better do that as a council member. Has anyone seen the front page of the St. Cloud Times today? With Rockville residents here being kind of the main focus? That's really good news, but I think everybody knows that Rockville hasn't been in a positive light in the news lately. And a lot of that's been going on because there's been things going on that just aren't adhering to the law. And I'm really not in agreement with that. I've brought these issues out and been pretty much, well, attacked for it. And I can back everything up I've said and brought up with documentation.
Thank you, Rick.
Okay, thank you.
Tony's the next name I drew.
I just want to say that if elected, what I will do is I will let everybody's voices be heard. I believe that if any of you have called me about something that I had on my planning commission board, I always take the time to listen and keep in mind that when decisions are made, there's often going to be somebody that's pleased with the decision and somebody that's unhappy. What I always look for is the betterment of the entire community, not necessarily one or two people, but the entire community. So something we have to take into consideration. I guess I just want people to feel like if I was elected that they would be open and free to come to me and discuss their thoughts and their feelings in an unbiased and unjudgmental situation. And I really think that what we need to do is not dwell on negativity. We need to just proceed forward in a positive manner.
Thank you, Tony. Bill?
Well, I'm just going to dovetail off of what she just said. There's too much negative going on around here. I'm a very positive, community-oriented person. What do we got in this community? We got 2 Great Lakes, no zebra mussels. We just talked about this at our Lake Association meeting the other day. The clarity on Pleasant Lake and Grand Lake have increased. We've got great businesses in the community. Mr. Klein, you've got a cafe. Who knows about this? Nobody knows about this. We need to advertise. We need to get out there and show our community how positive we are and what good things are going on around here. Fire department. I'm just a pro endorser of our fire department. Why? Because they will respond to my house. I pay less on my insurance because they exist. I support them $1 million. You ask any of the firemen that knew me from whatever, I don't know, Don, whatever, I will support them $1 million because they're there for me and they're going to support me. And they're going to respond to my needs. And if you want to know what, I did end up as a trauma code one day, and you know what? They responded. They helped save my life. So I want to support the community. We have a lot of positive things going on here, and we need to get that out to the rest of the area.
Thank you, Bill.
Dwayne?
For the benefit of those who may have just come in, I am Dwayne Willenbring. I'm currently a city council member. And the reason that I feel compelled that I am the most qualified of the candidates that are here, not saying the others aren't, but I feel compelled that I have a few superb reasons. Been going to council meetings for 25 plus years, on and on, early on, later on when I had land development, protecting my own investments and stuff like that. I shouldn't say mine, my wife and mine. Then we got onto the 6 years of serving on the city council, so there'd be a limited amount of time for learning curve. I've gone to enormous amount of League of Minnesota City sponsored seminars, continued education, and so a few other things. As a business owner, I understand budgets, fiscal responsibility, collaboration, compromise, and networking. These traits are beneficial for a city councilor as well. You've heard the common theme amongst all of us thus far. That's a very common theme that needs to be corrected in this community. Our concerns: provide excellent city services with maintaining fiscal accountability, actively seeking reduction and elimination of wasteful spending and non-essential services, develop long-range plans to advocate continued support for our fire department, emergency management and infrastructure requirements, examples such as upgrading and reconstructing collector and arterial streets, producing adequate fire apparatuses, and there's many, many going on and on and on. So my commitment to transparency, accountability, honest, fairness, civility amongst councilors, staff, and fellow citizens. Again, a common thing among all. So thank you.
Need to be mentioned.
Yes, they do.
Again, there's too much negativity that's been going on in the city, but I want to say, I also hear a lot of positive things.
Yeah.
Because I get around. I do a lot of outdoor projects, outdoor classrooms. I live outdoors. And that way you get to meet people in their own environment.
Oh.
And I like a lot of things I'm hearing. I'm hearing some complaints also. They don't want to see and hear the big dispel that's going on, especially with the employment here. City employees, it's a mess. We can't attract good people. So we tried raising the wages. Well, it's a good start. But we need people that are well qualified, certified, licensed. They have to handle sewer and water. There's very minute and difficult things here to handle a city of this size. winter's coming on, we're finally looking at a little stability, at least we got 2 people in, but we should never be cut this short. You people don't deserve it. You deserve the best services you can get and fairness you can get. You deserve employees that respect you and should be working with you. I know I've enjoyed doing that here. I've worked with lots of folks on these projects that we established through our Parks Department. And the Parks Department, I say that the workers there don't get enough credit. They give it a lot of time and effort, but what is used is enjoyed. What is enjoyed is passed on, and most of this is investment into our future generations. That's important here also. We need to set it up for them. It's been set up for us in the past, so now it's our turn. Thank you.
You have 30 seconds left.
Oh, I do. I thought you were waving me off. Okay. I'm open to ideas. There's lots of ideas that we can incorporate into this city. We're not going to accept all of them, but at least we will discuss them. Some of them have a lot of merit to them. We just don't hear about them. We like working with the lake associations. It's unbelievable the progress they've made in this city with water quality, soil quality, air quality. It's all there. It's all been improved. We're surpassing our tests that we thought we were going to have. We've increased.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Okay, questions from the audience here, and I want to remind everybody that we want to keep this on a positive note, and we're not here for a debate. You can have Marlis draw a name at random to answer your question, would probably be the best way to go. Otherwise, if it's directed specifically to a candidate, you can do that too. Vince?
Yes, I have a question, but I would like to have each candidate answer this.
Okay, then we'll do it in random order again.
Okay, a while back, the mayor at a public meeting stated that he does not want the public or the citizens to contact the city council members. They should contact the staff if they have a problem. And I ask you, if elected, will you follow the request of the mayor, or will you make yourself available as it should be to the public? Thank you.
I don't understand that. Could you say the beginning of that again, please?
Pardon?
Would you repeat the beginning of your question again, please?
The beginning of the question was, the mayor stated at a public meeting a while back that he was asking the citizens, or he said the public should not be contacting a city council member if they have a problem with anything in the city. They should call the staff instead.
Is that true?
Yeah, I know.
that's true.
The question is
Exactly. We
will
know
you
the
follow
question.
that directive, or do you believe that the general public should be able to contact a city council member as a representative with their situation?
Thank you.
Is that what you're saying?
Thank you.
Right?
And I called, or drew Dwayne's name first.
From my past history, most of you know the answer that I already have. I am a very approachable city council member. I'm proud of that fact that I am an approachable member. I'm also a non-conformist to a degree, but I do believe in one of the key factors that the mayor did share, and that is that those of us who are council members have oversight, but we also do not micromanage. And so to that end, I hope I answered that question for you, Mr. Schaefer. I am approachable, and if someone came to me with a request or a inquiry as it relates to the governance of the city of Rockville, I assure you I would be approachable, and if it's deemed important, I would carry that message to our administrator, who hopefully would then continue her duties. Thank you. She does have 5 of us collectively that are her employers. Our employees are those of you who are out here, and that's the public in that sequence.
Bill?
The answer is yes. I think the public absolutely should contact us. That's why we're voted in. Right answer.
Rick?
Yeah, as I had stated, I feel you can't represent the people without getting the input. And that's why I wanted to have the modern day communication where you know about things, because not everybody makes it to the council meetings, and I know that, and not everybody has cable TV to watch it on cable TV. That's why I've been videotaping meetings myself and making them available to anybody that wants to view them online. So I would absolutely encourage people to respond to the updates that I would send.
Tony?
Absolutely. I feel that all of you probably know, most of you have probably called me on my personal cell phone just in the past 10 years of working with me on the Planning Commission for one piece of information or another. I definitely feel that city council members are representing the public, that the public and the constituents are our employers. But I would also probably feel that if it was not just a simple question that I could answer, but something that my other council members should know, I would definitely portray that information on to the city administrator or via email to the other council members, just so that everybody knows what other questions are being asked. If you ask me a question and don't ask Dwayne, then he's not privy to the information that could potentially he has a different take on it than I do. So I think that we need to be able to share that information, but I definitely am open to phone calls from the public at any time.
And Paul?
I'm getting up. I understand this question fully. It was only put in place, and I think it's only going to be temporary, but it was put in place because of employees. There was so much micromanaging going on, they didn't know who to listen to after a while. It created a lot of confusion. He wasted a lot of time. So the mayor made it clear that it should be through the administrator, and that's what that meant. They take orders only from the administrator. We can recommend, with our knowledge, we can guide them in the direction they may wish to go, but we do not give them orders, and I think that's fair. As far as being a councilman, I'm open to calls from the public at any time. When I was out campaigning, I enjoyed meeting people, and they enjoyed having me in their home. So I'd like to help you in any way I can. A lot of the questions, people have been reading about what's been going on and what I've been doing, and they've been environmental. I'm very strong environmental, so if you have, that's what's going to be my strength on the council, and that's what they really don't have. This is my expertise. So if you have those questions in the future, keep me in mind. Thank you.
Other questions?
I have a question. So my question is, if there's been an issue discussed at a council meeting and then it's brought to the council for a vote and a majority of the council has voted on whatever the issue is, but it's not something you agree with, so perhaps you were the dissenting vote on it, how would you then respond with the decision that's been made?
Respond to whom? Tony?
Oh.
Yes, the decision.
Randomly.
Well, I can speak from experience because obviously on the Planning Commission, there's been some motions and movements that I probably haven't agreed with. They wouldn't have been my choice, but this is a democracy, so in that case, the voice was heard and the majority ruled, and then it's my duty to just carry that motion forward. I can't take my personal feelings into play then. I need to do the best job that I can to move forward in the direction that the city as an entirety voted for.
Bill?
Boy, I'm going to play right off of that. It's happened to me many times. I've been voted down a number of times in the 6+ years I was on city council. But the information that you bring forward to the council meeting is from the community. And you do the best you can to present that. And yes, you're going to have opposition, but you do the best that you can to present that to the council. And if you get voted down, you just got to go with it. You stride with it. You go back, and then you need to follow up and communicate back to the people, this is why this didn't go through. You tried your best, you've done your best, but this is why it didn't happen.
Paul?
I think that question's been answered already, just by these two, and I'll agree with it. This is a democracy. Even if you were in the vote, you go along with it. That's the way the system works. You'll be able to explain to the people why this happened, but whatever your position was at that point, it's done. We move on. We've got more work to do than argue about losing one vote. Thank you.
Rick?
As they've all said, it is a democracy. You go with the vote, you're voted down, you're voted down. But it's kind of an open-ended question here. It's pretty vague. Depends on what the issue is. If the issue is there was a violation of state law, then you're done with that part of it, and then you pursue different things. I brought things up to the council. They told me that I was wrong. And I went to the state and found out I was right. Ultimately, it may take several months, but it was reversed, such as the city administrator sending me a $200 invoice. It was against the law. I went to my council member, I brought it up, nothing was done. I went to the council, nothing was done. I went to the state, they told me to ask by what authority they were charging this invoice. That was sent directly to the city attorney, who immediately put that invoice on hold, and the next council meeting it was entirely dropped. Why was it dropped? Because it was illegal. I had that in verification from the state. So it's really depending on what the issue is. You can't back down just because some other people didn't know what was going on. Thank you.
Dwayne?
I ditto virtually every one of the remarks as it relates to at the city council level when a decision is made and it's made by the majority, that is now the new whatever regulation, whatever situation or something like that. It is part of the oath that you take when you become a council member or in the governance that you will. There are circumstances when you do have, and I think I'll use it as a prime example. We have another city council member here this evening that has got oversight of planning and zoning. I have oversight currently of Park and Rec. When there is a contentious situation in the subcommittees and there's a 3-2 vote in a subcommittee, as a liaison, not as a council member, but as a liaison, if you are the individual that carries that message forward to the council, then you have that privilege of showing the minority report also, so that the council members, if they have not been at the meeting, they don't have that privy of that information. But as a council members, you must abide by that Robert's rules and the parliamentary procedure, and that is, after the decision is made, you must stay with the majority of them. And then, if there is, as Mr. Tallman just shared, if there has been ambiguity or if there has been miscomings or so, then that changes the whole focus. Then we can go and change our thought process on our voting. But as a council member, once that decision is made, we must abide by the decision of the majority. Thank you.
Next question. Come on, everybody, go ahead.
With the problems that Cold Spring is having with water and some of the problems that I know that we've had in this town with water, is there anybody here who would be interested in looking at partnering with Cold Spring, or what are your thoughts? And putting a joint like you have with that the city has with the wastewater already, joining with Cold Spring and being part of the greater Rocori community.
Are you volunteering to be on a subcommittee to investigate that?
What it's gonna take.
Bill, I drew your name first.
I think every opportunity to partner with our community, which in the long run saves money, I think that absolutely that needs to be looked at. I don't know the answer to what you've just asked, but I think the community, the Rockville community, needs to look at that and take advantage of every advantage to, first of all, save money, do the best for the city of Rockville, and for the environment. Short and sweet.
Dwayne?
We currently have two duismas, which is drinking water and I don't remember, DWSMA, Drinking Water Safety, whatever, and I served on that capacity the last time we had our upgrade. So we have adequate water for our immediate community. And if we were going to share or to network or to go and join ventures with our neighboring community, as we have with many other things, we have some of the mechanical, we have some of the current current equipment that is already shared. We have a Quarry Trails construction that I serve on as a voting member representing Rockville. So there's a lot of areas that are shows. As it relates to the water, before I could even weigh in, it would have to be a cost-benefit analysis that would have to be done in depth. And there would certainly be outside the resources of Rockville and City of Cold Spring. It would take like the Rural Water Association to be involved and stuff like that. But yes, the spirit of cooperation amongst the three communities, Rockville, Cold Spring, and Richmond, has been proven many times in the past, and there's no reason for us to discontinue. Buying salt, I see Don, another one of our council members sitting back there, Mr. Simon. He's very aware of buying salt at the same time at the right price and many other things or something like that. So it's happening all the time already at this stage of the game, but seriously, the water would be a big, big step, obviously. Okay? Thanks for the question, though, Mr. Kinzer.
Rick?
I think that's also very beneficial if it would work out, but I'm sure there's plenty of committees that would have to be researching it and the right state authorities to look into if that's possible, that it would not hurt the Rockville residents by joining up. There's only so much water available, and they monitor all that. Rather than dumping it, like a number of times, water tower over by Pleasant Lake Homes has been just dumped because of there's not enough homes there to support that tower. So having another community use the water rather than dumping it out on the ground and letting it go back in would be very beneficial, I think, to everybody. But there again, it would have to be thoroughly researched and make sure that it's beneficial for everybody.
Paul?
This is the first I've heard this question, and it's interesting to me. I think it has a lot of merit, but right now I'm not sure where to go with it, not being on the council yet, but I do know it would have to go through subcommittees. There'd be a lot of investigation. If it's a time saver, cost saver, and would benefit the citizens of our city, save us money at the same time, it's definitely a plus. I'd like to see this one move forward, but right now, other than what you heard from the others, you've got a lot of information. I'll give you that.
Tony?
I don't think, or know what I could say that hasn't been said, but I'm all for joining with Cold Spring. We've done it many times. It's worked well. We have a great partnership going, but only if it's going to better, like you said, the community and the city as a whole, because we have to remember that. We've gotten a lot of grief with the septic, and I think that we need to take that into effect, and then that's why when I said something about a subcommittee, you laughed about it, but it's the truth, because that's something that the citizens need to own. That's how your voice is heard. You find something that you're passionate about. I'm saying it from experience, because 11 years ago, when I moved and I bought a house up on Cypress Court, and I heard that they were going to potentially put a gas station right on the corner of County Road 8 and 23, you can bet your booties that I was at every planning commission meeting getting as much information as I could. And it's from those meetings that I took on the passion that's now become what I do on the planning commission. So, that being said, I do think it's great. It's great that we cooperate with neighboring cities, but that it should actually, there's more to it. There's the whole picture that you need to look at.
Next question.
Some of the candidates have mentioned the negativity going on. If you could address two questions. One is, what's your perception of what the negativity is all about? And secondly, what's your plan as a city council member if you get elected to turn this in a positive direction so this negativity stops?
She's looking at me again.
Bill.
It's rigged.
Yep, I said
You're a
it
bright
because
star.
I'm a big supporter of communication, and right now, this is my personal feeling, is we have 2 lakes and we have a core city, and they're not playing together. And people need to know what's going on, and I really would promote and push for a Rockville core citizens group to meet monthly, quarterly, whatever, to communicate back and forth of what's going on, what are the problems, what are the concerns. So we can take this community and bring it together, because I think you all know that you feel this way, that, you know, we've got 2 lakes and we've got a core city. What happened to the city of Rockville with them combined? So I really promote a citizens committee to meet and to communicate back and forth and take care of some of these misconceptions, errors, or positive communications that should be going on that are not going on.
Rick?
Well, the negativity that's been going on, I've been kind of at the forefront at finding a lot of this. And there again, it stems back to state laws being violated. And I don't think that is acceptable for the city to be doing that. And just bringing that to light and letting people know that the state laws are being violated, I don't think is negativity, that's information letting people know what's going on. Such as I had pointed out, city administrator trying to give me a $200 invoice, which was illegal, trying to charge me for open records, which was illegal. This is all going on, and we can't stick our heads in the sand and just pretend it's not going on. It's going on. And if I need to be that voice to bring it out, then that's why I'm here. I've been encouraged by people to step up and run, and my campaign slogan is of the people, for the people, and I plan to be for the people.
Paul?
Negativity, you bet it's here. But there's 2 sides to the story. There always is 2 sides to the story. Communication is the key. We do need a way to pull the 3 areas together, and the rural community, so they really know what's going on. It's hard to hear me in the back. Sorry.
Stand up on the chair.
There are two opinions on this. There's been 2 opinions on everything. It doesn't all have to do with state statute or laws. There are other means, but people need to be able to hear it, to give their opinions on this also, so everybody knows what's going on. Not just one story that gets around, angers everybody, and it clouds the environment. Nobody else really cares to listen to what's really going on. So let's open this up and hope it works. We're going to try to do it on our council level, but we need input from you also. Thank you.
Dwayne?
Great question, Mr. Palmer. Great question. I believe from the public perception, 95% are probably not aware. It's the ones that are visible, it's the ones that are community, it's the ones that do all the action. Either you're 2-3% that are the movers and the shakers in the community, or you're the 2 or 3% that are the opposite end of the spectrum. So, and this was not orchestrated, but I have the question answered right here. I have the personality, experience, intelligence, and ability to work with the citizens of Rockville to best represent them and their goals for the city. I have served the citizens with this community in an unbiased, honest, and responsible manner, without influence from special interest groups for the past 6 years, and if given the opportunity, will continue to do so. I have the desire to continue to serve as a city council member. So what we've heard thus far as it relates to the negativity, is it perception or is it for real? The important thing is when a new group gets seated at the first of the year, that's going to be the utmost important for all of us, is to be civil with each other. And so be committed, this is the final concern or issue that I have, be committed to exercising transparency, accountability, honesty, fairness, and civility amongst councilors, staff, and fellow citizens. Thank you. That was a great question.
Tony?
The negativity, I think, communication. I think that people take bits and pieces of the real story and they hear little bits and pieces of it. It's just like what they do in kindergarten and first grade with those little kids. And they'll whisper something and then they have to whisper, and by the time it gets to child number 15, it's nowhere what the teacher whispered to child number 1, first and foremost. As adults, we're no different. So I think that what we need to do is just be clear on the story, on what the facts are. There are 2 sides to every story. I think people need to know that. And then you need to process it and make your own decisions. As far as what I would do, I just try to keep a positive outlook. I think that I've proven that already with my chair, role on the Planning Commission as chair. I try to stay neutral, I try to stay unbiased, and I try to stay positive. Trust me, sometimes it's not easy. When I'm going to council and I've got to bring forward a new ordinance or something, that I'm going to have people on both sides of the coin. And sometimes I've walked out of there feeling like, how many daggers are in my back? But you know what? I do it with pride, because I've been appointed a very, very special task for this city, and I take it very seriously. And something I want you all to know, that even if I don't end up on the council, and I can serve both. I can serve on the Planning Commission and on council. But if I don't end up on the council and I'm just on Planning Commission, I'm here. I've been here for almost 11 years. I'm not going anywhere, and I'm happy to serve you either way.
As you all know, or as we all know, residents of Rockville are like to get involved, and it's even more than that normal 6%. We've had people picketing, we've had people do petitions. In my 50 years here, I think I've been headed up probably 10 different petition drives. What would you, as a council person, how would you react to the people of your community if they came with petition to the city council? It's all legal.
Yeah, see?
No, this is Paul. This is Paul.
It's jinxed. It's no longer fixed.
Oh, it's me. I thought you two had more to say.
No, I was just looking at her eyes and,
I can say, the last petition we presented to the city council was totally ignored. So you can do that. So what's your take? What would you do?
Petitions have merit. It's the people speaking. They need to be listened. Petitions have merit. It's the people speaking. It's their goodwill. It's their interest. It's what they want heard. The time should be taken for it. And there's a legality to it otherwise. Duty's right. I don't know if there's a limit on a number of signatures before it becomes legal, and that I don't know. Because you could have small petitions, you'd have to take time for every one of them. Is that the way you read it? I'm not sure about that.
Nothing small in Rockville.
Nothing small, well, that's true enough. But there is a reason the petitions exist. I would certainly listen to this and be willing to hear what the problem is. They should not be ignored. I wasn't aware one was ignored. I've been involved in petitions in the past. I'm happy to get on them when I truly believe what they are. If I'm not clear on this, I will not sign it. But once a petition is presented, you need all of your backers to truthfully say, this is the way we want it, because things can change. A petition is a way of getting in with your voice and its community. I say, let's keep doing it.
Bill.
like those eyes looking at me. Well, first of all, I think petitions need to be addressed, and it's obviously a negative outcome that this petition exists. I think with my idea of a community citizens group that meets, that will avoid or discourage any type of petitions or negative outcomes in the community. I really encourage the community to get together to solve their problems together rather than the outcome of being a petition.
Rick?
There again, I was at the forefront of one of that petition that we're talking about, and that petition was gathered 170 signatures in a matter of 3-4 days. And the reason we had to do it in 3-4 days because the decision was made at one council meeting to table an action until the next council meeting. And then it was upped, the time frame was upped, and we had 3-4 days to gather these petition signatures. So we threw this petition together, and it was a reasonable request. It was to ask for an outside review of the large pay increases that the city staff got. And it was, as she said, totally ignored. It was presented and it was told, take this away, we're not interested in any petition. That is the wrong answer. You need to listen to the people. And it was a reasonable request.
Tony?
Again, all I can do is speak from my experience, but as many of you know, that when we have agenda item on our planning commission, we will properly notify all the neighbors within a certain distance. Each of those neighbors, if they cannot come, is welcome to submit an email or a letter or some kind of correspondence. I always welcome all of that into my meeting minutes because I don't care if it's one person's voice or 50 people's voice. I want that heard and I want it on record. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to get their way. We had that just with our last meeting. Doesn't necessarily mean that that one person's going to sway the decision, but their voice definitely needs to be heard. They have a right. So again, on a petition, the people signing it should know what they're signing. It shouldn't just be I'm going to slap my name on this. If you put your name on it, you should be passionate about it. If it was somebody asking me to sign a petition, I would definitely want to know exactly what it meant before I put my name on it. But as far as it being heard, absolutely.
Dwayne?
As it relates to petitions, if you're talking specifically about the last one and the procedure of how it was presented and what would I have done about that one, it's very obvious I was there. It never got to a point where the council got to vote on it up or down or anything, and that's rightfully so, because it was presented during the open forum, or even, I believe, before the meeting. So in an open forum situation, or in one of those situations, if it's an open forum, we are trained to listen intently. If we have something that we could share, but we never get into an in-depth discussion in open forums, the legitimate and right way to present it would be to the administrator. The administrator then has an obligation to advance it forward. One of the few times, there's a very prescriptive percentage in the law, and that is 10% of the members of the community that voted in your most recent election prior to. That's how you gauge as to whether or not a petition is legitimate or not. So you need to have 10% of the voting members of the previous one. But that's not what the question was about. But quite frankly, if I can digress for a little minute, and that is, if I answered the question for you folks, I'm looking forward to the glee club that Mr. Becker is talking about for our community, and I'll be one of the first ones to go and volunteer in that one, if it goes off the ground and gets rolling, something like that. We need a glee club around this town. Thank you.
Somebody, another question? Don?
Yeah, you were just talking about all about the environment, everybody work together, negativity and petition. What is your plan to get on? Business, the economy is picking up some. What are your plans? How would you be to attract more business or help the business that's in town here to expand, or anything except to get them to come here, expand, whatever it is? Do you have any plan or even gimmick that could get the business to come here and stay here? And all you can answer that. I don't care which order you go.
Bill.
Bill.
Absolutely. You know what we need? We need some advertisement on the Highway 23 that just goes around this town. George's Cafe, and George and I talked years ago about getting a sign out there for some advertisement, not just for this, but for the whole inner city. What business has we got going on here? What's our good? His cafe does a good job. Why aren't we advertising that out in the community on Highway 23? They're driving by because why? They don't know. They don't know it's here. Okay, who can tell me what sign is out there on 23 saying anything about Rockville? Anybody?
Broadway.
Right? What is that? So we need some positive advertisement supported by the city. I mean, we got EDA, we got the city. Come on, we can do this.
Rick?
Well, first off, positive in signs would be great, but I've heard a lot of negativity when at council meetings about signs, very restricted for the signs. And businesses need signs to conduct business. That's a no-brainer. But yet you hear no sign districts, can't do this, can't do that. And the other community that I was in northern Wisconsin, they had the same thing. They had all these restrictions on signs. Well, if you're going to have business, you're going to have signs. You need signs. I think another thing to build the community, we have a city that wouldn't even support Rockfest. Rockfest was attended by how many people and other people around the areas, and the city wouldn't get behind it. All the other cities get behind their community events like that, and it's very sad to see that we couldn't get that here. To promote other businesses, I don't know what the ideas are. You want to brainstorm with other cities that have done that. They've had successful campaigns to bring businesses in. Find out what those are and bring them here.
Dwayne?
What would I do to help to make a environment of businesses more conducive? Again, one of the features that I, issues and concern. To assist in creating a culture to attract additional businesses by reducing burdensome policies and procedures. It's the easiest reason in the world for somebody not to come here, because we're not a user-friendly community as it relates to business world. I have been a business person in this community since 1977, and I have seen the involvement of the no-growth advocates that are out there for some reason or other. It was alluded to signs. I'm sure Tony has her armful of as it relates to signage that came through the planning and zoning. As it relates to the Rockfest, there are only certain things that you can take federal or state ad valorem taxes that are generated in your community and giving it to the public without having some separation of what it's being used for. And one of the prime examples of that was when the city used to be able to take all of the retired fire department members and their spouses or significant others to an evening meal seasonally, once a year. That is prohibited by state law. And so therefore, when we have a Rockfest and there was I think it was a $3,000 some that we would give towards the fire department. I was very active in the Rockfest, as was Tony and others. And that is one of the things that we as a city can no longer do by state statutes, to be able to do that unless we have some creative mechanism of not doing it. And the pulse of the community in 2008 when we started to cut back was do not give any more. So we were listening. Those of us who were there, Mr. Simon certainly realizes that he was seated at that thing. I think Sue might have been, I forget, or Councilor Palmer. And therefore, that's the fine line that you need to do to be a city council member, is to be versed on what is allowed by law and also what is perception that is needed. So it's a great dance that we play. Thank you.
Tony?
First of all, I'm not going to get into the sign ordinance tonight.
Great.
It's a way, I remember sitting above the old city hall at 11:30. Oh, I think you might have even been there that night, Mr. Palmer. We've had great deals of discussion about that, but I would welcome a sign idea to come to our planning commission, whether it abides by our current ordinance or not. We always have, we've made it really friendly, and we have give and take with it. That's one thing that I think people don't understand, that we've tried to keep a lot of our control on things like that local. We set a strict sign ordinance in effect about 4 years ago because something that was happening in another small town, Eden Valley, with certain signs that we did not want to see in our area. That's all I'll say about that. But I know a few years ago, the Business Association had talked about getting together and doing a downtown sign. We never seen anything on it. We never had an idea presented. So it's not the Planning Commission saying no. We need to have somebody bring an idea to us before we can even work with them on that. Because other people have alluded to Rockfest. Rockfest is very near and dear to my heart. I can tell you that city money was not ever used for Rockfest. What was covered through the city for Rockfest was the insurance for the event, and that's pretty much it. So it was never city funds used. The reason Rockfest is evaporating is because we lack volunteers. You can only have the same people doing it year after year after year. And remember, those are the people that are volunteering that we're also getting all the complaints. So we're there, but all we hear is complaints. So sometimes we need to think about that, and we just need support. Instead of being the first to judge somebody that's standing up there in that sweltering heat all day long, want to hear me talk 6 in the morning till 1 o'clock at night all day long, because that's what Rockfest takes, right, Tootie?
Oh, yeah.
Months and months and months of planning. So if you want that to come back, we need help. So that's all.
Tony's right, and she's very well versed on this. Rockfest failed because of volunteers, for one thing. People stopped volunteering. We simply could not get enough help. When I was working through the Sportsman's Club on this, and so they did end up helping quite a bit. The other reason was it was failing. We're losing money for several years, and we lost money in the last year. So now it's very doubtful whether it's ever going to happen. So it's a community thing. It's not city-based money. They help out with the insurance, like Tony says. That's true. That's as far as it goes. There's other activities in this city that go on money that's raised that the city doesn't pay, and I'm sure the taxpayers wouldn't want their taxes paid for some of these things also. And those are the reasons. The sign world is a very complex thing. I know because I worked with it. Signage, imagine, public parks, signage. There's jurisdictions, there's right-of-ways, there's utilities, there's railroads. It's expensive, it's very complex, but I'm not to say we shouldn't do it. We need good advertising to bring city in. A lot of people that pass by here in 23 don't know we're here. I'd like to see the downtown area grow, attract things that people are looking for, that they would travel to, even an antique village. Ideas. We need ideas brought in, we need them presented to us. I'm not sure why a lot of these plans in the past were turned down. I know some of it was environmental. It would generate too much toxic waste or foul our air, or it had a chance of polluting our groundwater. Well, we can't accept that because simply it's too small of a space to take care of all that waste. But there are other opportunities out there that people, I'm sure, as the economy grows, we would be looking for a place to place it. Rockville's a great area. The highway generates a lot of traffic. It's close to 94. Why can't this happen? We can work on it.
I just want to, since I'm kind of the voice on the Planning Commission too, and I know, Adeline, you're still here? Good. Because this was something we talked about, 4 years ago, the sign by Suburban. Remember, Adeline? That's another one of the reasons we put a more restrictive sign ordinance in place. How many people have been driving towards St. Cloud and you come across or you come down 23 and you see that flashing sign and you think, oh, there's an accident or something's going on there? It's a safety hazard too. So there's a lot that goes into our thought process with signage. Just wanted to point that out to you. That's not us. That's St. Joe Township right there. So I have no control over it, but wanted to point that out.
Any other questions? Kim?
Yeah, I just was wondering, briefly, if elected, what would be the #1 goal you would like to accomplish during this next term as the city council as individuals? You know, I know you all kind of talked, you know, some of you kind of grouply, but I'd like to know as individuals, what is your #1 goal to accomplish?
And I drew Bill's name again.
Do you have sticky on there?
I really do. It just seems that way.
Community involvement. We don't have it. Non-existent. There'd be no petitions, there'd be no arguments, because everybody knows what's going on. We need to have a community committee, whatever you want to call it, to take on the sign issue, the whatever issues that we have. So community involvement would be my number one. It's been my number one for years.
Oh,
All right. My number one interest would be within the infrastructure of the employees. It is a problem. We can't get good employees to come here. The city spends a little money on training them, they leave for a better job. Or it's because of problems of micromanaging, confusion. It's just, there's just way too much of it. That needs to be straightened out. If we're going to provide good services for you, quality services, that give you the clean, wholesome environment you would want to raise your family and your grandchildren, we need good people working for this city that we can trust and we can rely on. I think that's foremost. Otherwise, we're always cut short on this. They want to save $1 or $2, wait another year. Well, that went on since 2008. And when it finally came to a head, we had a huge problem. So it's a big issue. We need to tackle it right away.
Dwayne.
I think the most compelling one that I have, and I see Councilor Palmer here, her and I have advocated this for some time, and that's to create a long-range process or an in-depth process. Councilors come and go. Our city administrator is, and I have to be careful, so I say this here with the proper political, but into the afternoon of her career in terms of serving in the capacity as a city administrator. So there will be some changes that are coming along so that we can't have a different two-year cycle, start off in one direction, another two-year cycle in another direction or something like that. So long-range planning is probably one of the things that I'd like to see implemented so that long-term, as people progress, why was a decision made in the year 2014 and someone else is sitting here 5 years later or something like that. So that's a generic or very broad-based, and I don't know if it's impact initially, but that's the type of thing that I'm looking at. All of the other creative things about short-term are going to happen just by mere change of a new cycle, a new two-year cycle. There's always unrest whenever it comes to this time of the candidacy, but we need some long-term planning in our community so that we all know who's on first, who's on second, what's going after that.
Tony.
I'm just going to say 4 words. Get Rockville friendly back. And that's what I'm all about. Listening, being a good neighbor, and being a good part of this community. That's it. I don't have any other agenda.
Rick.
I think it's a couple different things that really need to be addressed. Government transparency is vital, very vital. And along with that, we need to keep after the roads. Our roads have been misused for a while, and we need to keep up with that. And I think we can find more funding to keep up with them a little bit better than it has been.
Thank you.
Hey, Carol, can I get a glass?
Anybody else? Vince?
Yes, coming back to the business and commercial development, this is actually a 2-part question I have here. First one would be, if elected, would you support securing state and federal money, and would you support programs like the TIF program or tax increment financing to secure business for the city? And if the answer to that is yes, the next part is, would you go the extra mile to see that staff has the support of the council and the mayor to apply for these monies? And the reason I'm asking that is when I applied, or when we applied for the money for the city sewer, the head engineer for USDA down in St. Paul told me, keep doing what you're doing, Mayor, because we have a whole lot easier time to say no to a staff member than we do to an elected official. So I'm asking, if elected, would you be willing to go to the extra mile to see that we would be able to secure some of this funding if another project came up?
Bill Decker again. His name just keeps floating to the top.
Wait a minute, let's switch that around. Let's give Bill a break.
No, that's okay. I don't know the TIF process, you said that, but I'd be very supportive of any type of money, grants, state funds, whatever, to support the city or the community. Even, I remember looking back at when we were looking at signs on Highway 23, there was a program by the state that funded certain types of signs for the community. But my answer would be yes, and I know it was a long question, but I definitely would support any type of money that we could get through grants or through the state funding to support our programs here.
Rick?
Absolutely, I'd be in favor of it because it's our tax dollars anyway. Whether it comes from the state or the federal level, it's our tax dollars. Well, if we don't go for it, it's like having a coupon and leaving it in your car and not using it. It's yours. Use it. So, federal money, state money, absolutely. Go after it, and go after it sometimes a little more intently than just one application you get turned down and you walk away. It's like people going for Social Security disability. They get turned down. That's the standard. They get turned down the first time every time. So they have to keep going after it. So if we can find the funding and it's there, absolutely. We were just talking at the Lake Association for Pleasant Lake about funding, and in talking with Dwayne, and since he's the chair of the Sauk River Watershed District, I had shared with the Pleasant Lake president there, Pam McBroom, that Dwayne had said that there is some funding and his staff there could help fund some of those projects we're looking at Pleasant Lake. So the funding is there, it's just not always able to find it. Paul has found a lot of funding for the city and been able to get the rain gardens in and a lot of different projects. So it's there, we need to go after it and not ignore it.
Tony?
Those of you that have been around quite a while know that we used to actually have personnel. That was pretty much part of her job. A large part of her job was applying for grants and for state funding. Unfortunately, we lost that person, and the council at the time chose not to replace her. So had I been on the council then, I maybe would have, to answer your question, stepped up and volunteered some time. I know the forms are probably far beyond me, but I would definitely take the time to read through them and apply for any kind of money that we can get. I've helped with that, and I've helped. Brian Herberg was always great about going down to League of Minnesota Cities, and I've tagged along with him a couple times, and I've learned a lot. So I definitely think that us as a small city, only small in numbers, not in jurisdiction or in heart, because we were the 4th largest landmass city in the state until a couple of years ago. See, I know that because it's here, it's in my heart. And anyway, I think that any money that we can tap into from the state or the county, we definitely should. I think it's unfortunate that we've kind of made our staff so crunched for time that they don't have the extra time to do it. So I would definitely, if elected, be more than happy to volunteer my time and help with that.
Dwayne?
For many, many years, since I've been sitting on the council in 2008 as a voting member, many other projects that I'm involved in had financing from either through deed, We have serving on the Economic Development Authority since the day that it was incepted in 2004. We've talked about deed at that stage of the level, so I feel somewhat of an expert in terms of, to a degree, they're great. Not saying that we should take each and every possible one of the grants that are out there. There's only a limited amount of money that goes away, that goes through state grants, federal grants. TIF districts for many, many years have been overused and abused. So there's a more creative way than TIF districts in this day and age to go and find some gap financing funding. We have just recently initiated a revolving loan through the Economic Development Authority. Councilmember Simon and I are the two that serve on the EDA currently, and that's been in place. So bottom line, of course, we should pursue it, but there's never enough money to go around or something like that, and only in those situations where it merits, not to go and bring it in to compete against. A prime example would be, we have one gas station in the core city of our Rockville. If we were going to go and subsidize or to go and give someone else a lesser or increment in terms of how fast that they would have to pay the taxes up to it, we're doing an injustice to an existing business. If somebody's going to build a business out there, so we're compete. But yet, if it's going to bring in new industry, or something like that, it is incumbent upon us to be at that door to welcome them and to a limited degree give them that additional mechanism in why they should be in Rockville. As was alluded to earlier, location, where in relationship to metropolitan statistical area, all that is still very, very important, and that's why Rockville is positioned to be at the right place at the right time. And to that end, I would definitely be in favor of, to a degree, some outside financing through a revolving loan or something like that. Thank you.
Well, my answer as a grant writer would obviously be yes. But Vince, I'm not sure what you meant by go the extra mile.
Pardon?
I'm not sure what you meant by go the extra mile. But I do.
What I meant was what the engineer told me down St. Paul. It's a lot easier to say no to a staff member than it is to an elected official.
Well,
so I'm asking if you would support the staff member to do this.
I thought you were trying to indicate something to me that I was unaware of to make grant writing a little easier. It's a lot of work.
Yes, it is.
But I've proven.
Writing easier, it'll make getting it easier.
If there's a elected official's name on that application versus a city administrator or somebody that's doing their job. Right, Vince?
Right.
Yeah.
I've proven it can be done. I brought that experience with me from my career job. And I did it. And I got a lot of money here. But there existed within the council for a time here that we do not take outside money. We do not take grant money because it's going to raise everybody's taxes from the federal level on down. It was a wrong attitude. The money was still there. The money is for the people to be used. If we don't take it, somebody else will. It's that simple. You try to capture it when you can, where you can, do the best job in capturing it, keep it going. Once you learn how to write grants, you figure out a few knacks. There's things they want to hear, there's things they want you to say, but you have to prove yourself. It takes a lot of time, like I say. Now, as a council person, I don't know if I'm going to be interested in doing this again. I did it for the city as a volunteer. I was on the park board, and it was phenomenal for them. They couldn't believe what was happening. It was very diverse. It worked in a number of programs here. It saved a lot of tax money for local folks. I think we should continue on wherever we can find it. I gave some recommendations to the Lake Association the other night, 3 directions they could go to find some money. Like I say, as a city person, I could not do that. I could not write for them, but the association could. I just was setting them in the right direction. So yes, I would support this definitely. That's another reason why we need our staffing changed. Give them a little an atmosphere and relationship where they feel they can do these things. They can be trained to do it. Sit behind their computer, search these things out. They can be found. Thank you.
So when I drive west toward Rockville from where I work at Centricare, one of the draws to Rockville is I think it's one of the prettiest parts of Stearns County. And you'd probably need to go up to Avon Hills area to get something that's even comparable. It's beautiful. So I'm a little concerned about what I'm hearing about signs. I'm a believer that we've got to have strong businesses and we've got to support our businesses. But at the same time, I don't want to drive west and read a bunch of signs. I want to see the natural beauty of the hills. So what is your plan as a city council to address and balance out the needs from the businesses, but also to protect the beauty that we have? Because I don't want to live here if we're going to be reading a bunch of signs and billboards.
Paul's first this time.
Well, the parks manager, we weren't heavy in signs either for the very same reason. But there's other ways to advertise. You can get in publications, you can get in travel bureaus. Things that don't cost much. But we have to have something here to attract them to. Eagles Park is a great one. I've met people in Eagles Park from around the world. And the Wobegon, which is close by. So there's two attract, and I manage the Wobegon. And people from Australia and Hong Kong. I mean, it's phenomenal. You don't even realize these people are here until you stop and talk to them. We can draw people here. We've got some very unique things in this community. This Eagles Park is a gem. People are just fascinated what's happened here within our community, and once they discover it, they tell other people. When they come here, they say, I heard it from so-and-so from Illinois. I'm from Pennsylvania. These are the things I'm looking for. Attracting businesses the same way. We don't need to stick up a lot of road signs, although it might be necessary in a few situations, but there's other ways to advertise. And people want to know about it. A lot of people use those publications, especially with the baby boomers growing. There's going to be more older folks out there looking for places to go and things to do and to invest in. So let's take the opportunity. Thank you.
Tony?
I don't need to say much about this because obviously, as a representative of the Planning Commission, it is our Planning Commission's duty, and I have really tried to prohibit, especially billboards. But we do have a couple that were already in place. So there's nothing to say that, and like I said before, another sign, maybe one sign directing the business, a sign that is approved by Minnesota Department of Transportation, much like what we have for Grandview, now Eddie's Resort, something like that. One of those is fine, but we have other billboards that could be maybe used. Maybe instead of creating a whole new sign, the Business Association, I know it's kind of been a little dormant, but maybe they get together and put something on one of them that's existing. So there's other ideas. And I'm so happy you said that, Mr. Palmer, because that is one of the things that I find joyous too, especially after driving through Wade Park. That's why we consolidated. That's why the city of Pleasant Lake didn't want to get eaten up by Wade Park, because they saw that that's what was happening there. So that's a bone of contention, and that's a lot of pride that we have. We've done that. We've stopped that from happening on our stretch of 23. So.
Bill?
Well, I think, environmentally, we can look at what it would take and what is scenically nice to advertise for this city. But then you're going to be up against state regulations and all kinds of other regulations. But, I really am for promoting this city. And as you can tell, my theme is community involvement. But in regards to your question about signs, is that they can be looked at very environmentally friendly and very scenically, I don't know if that's a word, but in that way too for advertisement.
Rick?
I don't think we're talking about a lot of signs. If we had a sign that could be used by several businesses, changing the ad, whatever, to bring the businesses in, that'd be great. But put yourself in a business situation. If you're gonna open a business in Rockville and you can't advertise from the busiest road going around here, how is your business gonna thrive? You've got to advertise to get them down here. We don't have that mechanism at all right now. So you gotta have something to draw them here. I mean.
Yeah, we do. We have it in place.
What sign do you have?
Stay out of it.
what sign is out there right now? We
To
don't.
draw business in?
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
have Rockville,
we have
Broadway.
a mechanism in place, is what I'm saying.
I'm saying we don't have a sign right now to help the businesses draw business here.
Okay, let's
Let him
finish
talk.
your viewpoint. No
Okay, so
debates.
that's just what I'm saying. We can't restrict the signs so much that we can't allow businesses to come here and grow. If you're gonna have a business, you need to advertise. So it's a fine balance. I understand your view. You wanna have a good view, and that's where the placement of the sign is very important.
Okay. Any other questions?
Dwayne
Oh, I'm
didn't get to
sorry.
talk.
My answer is very simple for Mr. Palmer's question, and that is the balance between signing and/or the beauty of it here. For me, as a councilor member, the easiest thing is to do is to listen to the constituency. What the majority of the constituency wants, that's the way I'm going to vote. Thank you.
Any other questions? One last question, and then I have one.
I've got one comment. Is the people will call me and say, I'm driving down 23, coming past the Suburban, and then they'll call back 2 minutes later, I'm going past the Dairy Queen, where is Rockville?
Excellent point.
You know, and so how
Very
are we
true.
supposed to operate down
Very
here?
true.
Point well
It is
taken.
so true.
Point well taken.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous. You know, and then you talk about the beauty of the road out there, take a look at the beauty of Main Street all the way down here. And you tell me the balance of that. You know, you start way down the end of it, up 182, and you take it out here, and you look at the beauty of downtown, and you take a look at the beauty out there, and where's the balance?
And it's not just a gas station and the restaurant, but even with A&J Auto or whatever that used car place is, I don't buy those parts, so.
And there's a couple bars down there too, don't forget that.
Yeah, and, yeah. My question is a number of years ago, citizens voted because it was put on the agenda, and in my opinion, it was after that we started hearing a lot of comments, negative things maybe about Rockville. The city council was dropped from 5 members, or from 7 down to 5. I really believe we should have 7 members on the council so there's a greater representation, not 2 against 3. And I say 2 against 3 because 3 is a majority, whichever way it may go. What is your opinion on that?
Bill Becker's name again. I tried to.
I was on the council at that time, and my opinion was that the bigger council was more appropriate for what I believe for the community. Obviously, there's some money involved and things like that, and then you as citizens had the opportunity to say nay or, yay or nay, and you voted it down to 5. But my opinion is the bigger council was the better for the community. You get more voices, but obviously the citizens didn't agree.
Paul,
Well, I hear about this one also. I question it, and I wonder why. But I'm not sure what the answer is. It seems to be a 50-50. I think it was dropped down to save money, is that correct?
I think it was
Dwayne, you know the reason?
I was just one voice and a lot of people voted, so I don't know. It's a population.
It has, well, what I'm hearing, it has some advantages and disadvantages, and that hasn't been explained very well. So that this was something that we would need to delve into and find out why it happened, why people voted it down. I don't know, I can't answer for the people, but it's interesting that you bring that up, because I did hear this quite a bit getting around. Thank you.
Dwayne?
In the merger, at that time, there was some reason that we had the relatively large council. Most statutory cities, as Rockville Type B, has 4 council members and a mayor. They also typically have 4-year council seats and 2-year mayoral seats. So if we were to be in sync with a lot of the other communities that are the same type of communities, then that would be the subtle change, that there would be a 2-year mayor race or position and a 4-year council. Then we would be pretty much in sync with all of the others, other than chapter cities such as St. Cloud, St. Paul, and others. For me personally, I believe that a council of 7, when I was serving on that council, did give a very unique, broad perspective, but the right 5 people can do it appropriately once we get this cloud out of Rockville that's hanging over us or something like that. So it would take a groundswell of people, a lot of people, to modify it, change it, and that's something a council can't do. That has to go by referendum. Goes to the people to vote.
Tony?
I believe during the consolidation agreement is when this all happened. At the time was there 12, and it was made up from representatives from all the different areas that consolidated. Keep in mind, this was the first time in the entire in the state of Minnesota that we had 3 entities forming one city.
That's correct.
So I think that we were a nonconformity and we were setting a precedence. So when they did the consolidation agreement, they really didn't know what to expect, but they did want to make sure that each and every one of those entities that were combining was represented. At somewhere along the line, and forgive me that I don't know the exact dates, but it was not voted to do a ward system, which is just my personal opinion, something that could have at times maybe made a smaller council work better for us. And I really feel that if we were going to go down to 5, as what it stated in the consolidation agreement, to go from the 12 to 11 to 7 to 5, that we should have then gone to a ward system. So we had proper representation from all of the things that make our city what it is. It wasn't just the city council, it was my planning commission. I remember the mayor coming to me and telling me I had to eliminate a position, and I felt like I was giving up a child because I felt like we had finally, as a commission, kind of got our mojo going. We had seasoned people that all understood where we were at, and we were finally making great strides. So I was disappointed when the city chose to go down to 5. I will say that personally, and I really feel that 7 would have been great. I think that each person that comes on council or that you elect on council brings something unique and a different set of eyes and a different passion. So I really feel that for the small stipend that we get paid, it's money well spent. So that's what I'll say.
Rick?
In attending a lot of the meetings, it is rather different to have 5 instead of 7. And when I say different for the other meetings, Sue, you can attest to that. When you have a finance meeting of 2, I've heard you make the comment, this is really strange, you know, you motion in a second and then you vote. Well, you just did, really, with a committee of 2. So it's really awkward. You don't get enough input, and like Dwayne said, it needs to go back, but it's ultimately up to the voters. And I believe it was voted on in 2012, I believe, because I was here when it went from 7 to 5, and I remember that.
It was in 2010, but it had 2 years to catch up.
Right.
So as those people left, they weren't reelected.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I know I was here during the time, and so it wasn't that long ago. But yeah, it probably should be 7, but that would be up to the voters to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, it's 8:30. We'll entertain one more question, and then I'd like to close if everybody's in agreement with that. I have no more questions.
Okay.
Closing comments?
Okay, fine, closing comments, 2 minutes each.
Gotta draw the right name.
Go ahead, pick a name.
Tony this time.
In closing, I would just like to thank everybody for coming and ask for your support in the election on November 4th. And just, if you have any questions between now and then, I'm not out campaigning very hard. I'm here if you have any questions or if you want to know my take on anything, please feel free to give me a call.
Rick?
again, thank you for everybody for coming. It was really a good turnout, and I would like to reiterate what Tony had said before, because in talking with a number of people as I'm going around, they make the comment that they used to be proud to say they live in Rockville, and they can't say that anymore, and that's very, very discouraging. So to bring the term Rockville proud, I think, is very appropriate. You need to be proud of your city, and it starts with the council and at City Hall. And if things aren't going right there, you're getting a negative image. So we need to work on that. Thank you.
Bill?
Well, I'm proud to live in Rockville. I live on a great lake. You know, our clarity readings are catching up to big fish in Watab. That's incredible. We have 2 residents here that provide us compost. We can take our stuff there free.
Name them, Bill.
Yeah. Well, it's Jerry and fireman.
Oh, yeah, Ralph Walsh.
Ralph Walsh.
Oh.
Yeah, they're great. I mean, you can drive in there any time of day or night. There's no gate. They don't charge us for that. We have a great fire department. They save me on my homeowner's insurance because we have a fire department. We got a great downtown area. George's Cafe, we got a gas station. We have a great parish here.
Daycare.
Everything. So I'm going to tell you, I'm proud to live in this community. And you'll see me out there working hard. And I will work hard for you if I'm voted in. And I really thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you.
Oh,
Well, I heard something from Tony that made sense. She said everyone that comes onto the council brings in something unique. And I have something unique to offer. I don't know if it's been offered on the council before. That's an environmental approach. That's my specialty. I am diverse also. I'm proud to be in this community. Moved here a long time ago and we stayed. Raised my kids here. It's a great place to live. There's a lot of good folks here. A lot of good things that have happened in the past, are happening now, and are going to happen in the future. It does need some help now. We all agree to that. We're all willing to work on it. It's just a matter of choice. Who you think you want? There's a lot of advertising out there. Our letters are out. There's going to be publications coming out in the Record on the 28th.
Right.
Got it right. Our bullets will be in there. A little more information on us. Take all the information you can and make the choice that you'd like to make. Thank you.
Dwayne?
For the citizens of Rockville, you have a great opportunity. There's 5 great candidates that you have to choose from. I'm egotistical, I've included myself, okay? But having said that, you guys know that anyway. But anyways, having said that, exercise your right to vote. This is the greatest thing that is about the United States. There's no fence around us. So if you don't like it here, you can leave. But if you don't vote, you don't even have a right to complain about the governance of the city of Rockville. So voting is the highest priority for you. And if I'm given the opportunity, I will continue to do what I have done in the past, and that's to be civil with each other, to come to a consensus. And my wife and I are going to be here for a long period of time. We have committed to this community. And so therefore, I ask for your vote, and I'm sure the others feel the same way. So a great night tonight. Thank you all for being very, very civil here this evening.